Police officers and first responders wear badges to let their communities know they are here to protect and serve. But it comes at a price. Samantha Horwitz and John Salerno work with police departments across the country to bring valuable recovery, insight resources, and workshops. A Badge of Honor TV brings those professionals to you so we can come together and revitalize communities through a better understanding of what's at stake and what's required for repair. So take a load off and turn up your TV. It's about to get real.
Hey, welcome to a Badge of Honor podcast, Badge of Honor TV. Woo, that was old school.
That's a blast from the past, partner.
Yeah, a little blast from the past. Badge of Honor TV. We are powered by the OBBM network, and you can find us on all your streaming podcasts and radio channels across any type of streaming network. Man, it's been a hell of a week. Sam, how you doing?
Doing great. Talk about streaming. Of course, on my end, I see the alert. So apologize to our Facebook family if you're having a difficult time tuning in. I just got the big red exclamation point that said we're having trouble streaming. So it's probably on Facebook side. So just a huge shout out to everybody, whether you're watching on LinkedIn, our YouTube page, on X, our Instagram family. Hey, Instagram family, we love you guys. Through OBBM network.tv, as well as our family on a Rumble. Thank you, Rumble family, for tuning in. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. John, there is so much. I mean, every week we come and we say there is so much going on out there, but I just feel like it's like we can't catch a break, and it's like we're ping pong balls, and it's hard to like track. Like, is this real? Is this with all the AI videos? It's like, nope, that's not real. And
yeah.
But you know what is real? There's too many officers right now and we'll focus on New York again, because it seems to be the melting SHIT pot that is going on. So, you got your ear to the ground and paying attention there. What is going on there?
I listened to a couple of great podcasts with some NYPD guys, and if I can give a shout out to Johnny Mack, he's a retired lieutenant who does a lot of podcasts, and he's really got his ear more closer to the grindstone than I do from being here in Texas. But, my heart breaks for all these law enforcement men and women out there each and every day, seeing how much they are being removed from the I don't know, the box that they should be held high on. They're being put below the criminals. The criminals are being risen up, and our law enforcement are being dwindled down, and they're being treated by politicians on the left and the right. Well, I don't want to say so much on the right, but mostly on the left, like robots. Like this is like they're not human beings, and they're allowing society to treat these men and women with such disrespect, and law enforcement officers are not able to, their hands are tied. And it's a sad thing that they can't even enforce the laws that they swore an oath to.
Well, I think they see the officer, like you said robot. I think they just see the officer, like you see a soldier, like you see a nurse, you see a doctor. They don't realize that their whole entire support system, their families are behind them. If they have kids, what their kids are going through. So they don't see us.
Right. And, you bring up a great point with kids, right? So when a kid goes to school, and especially in the elementary or early middle school, kids can be really mean at certain times. And when they find out your father or your mom is a law enforcement officer, and they wear that uniform to protect their cities and states, all these kids are on YouTube. They see how disrespected these cops are, and the hatred by some people in the community that, these kids feel that pressure. Mm-hmm. That is a trauma in itself. That's like saying, if your father back in the day was a criminal and he just came out of jail, all the kids would talk, right? But now it's like, oh, his father's a cop, stay away from him, or his mom's a cop, stay away from her. It's sad that we have gotten to that point. And what's going to happen, especially even like with our veterans as well, where last time we celebrated our veterans really as a country was World War II. You know, our Vietnam veterans came home, they were spit on. Our Iraqi freedom and the Gulf War, they really weren't praised in the way that in the manner that they should have been praised for protecting our country. And, these are men and women that keep us safe. We sleep well at night because of our law enforcement and our military. Yep. If we didn't have those men and women, those brave men and women doing that, society doesn't realize how much turmoil we would be in.
100%.
We have to start honoring our men and women again. And not only that, taking care of them on the front lines, taking care of them on the back lines as well. Once they retire, once they transition out of the military and they transition out of law enforcement, they are in a free fall. And, our guest tonight is somebody there with two big mitts to catch them with. And God bless them. And, that's what it's all about. Let's catch our officers. Let's catch our veterans in that big mitt and help them as they helped us.
Yeah, I think perfect opening. Let's bring our guest on. He is the founder of VetsForever and is all about helping veterans thrive. Welcome, Trinidad, to A Badge of Honor TV.
Hey, thank you, Sam and John, for having me on. I'm Trinidad Aguirre, CEO and co-founder of VetsForever. We're a law group with VA accredited attorneys to help our veteran community navigate really that complex VA healthcare system that we have. So thank you for letting me on.
Yeah, absolutely. Super valuable services that you offer, and we'll get to that. But please tell everybody watching and listening on their favorite podcast app a little bit about you and how you come to found VetsForever.
Yeah, absolutely. So, really my story begins on my son's baseball field, believe it or not. I'm sitting down watching my son play Little League baseball, and I'm sitting next to a retired chief in the Navy. I'm a Navy guy myself. And I asked him, hey, how are you going to pay for this, this season's baseball bat? Because they are not cheap. It's like $300 or $400. And he looks at me and he goes, well, I'm just going to use my VA money. And I looked at him, I'm like, what are you talking about, VA money? And he starts to explain. He goes, yeah, I'm 50% disabled, yada, yada, yada. And so as we started to talk, I was wondering, I was like, you're disabled? You look fine. He's like, no. And we started getting into it. So I was like, so I went to the DAV and I used them and I said, hey, look, I've got about 20 different things that I think's wrong. Like I've got a bad back, I've got migraines, I've got this, that, or another. And so, they walked me through the process, that initial process. And the first 20 things, this is 20 years after I got out when I filed my first claim. And the first 20 things, 18 of the 20 were denied. And so they pretty much said, it was like, so talk about a kick in the gut, the frustration. I felt disrespect. I'm like, I'm not lying. These things are legitimately hurting. And so I'm a big time nerd. I dive into the recs. I start to understand what really the VA was asking of me. They were saying, okay, we really need medical evidence. We need this. So I really broke down that, what they call the 38 CFR. And in that rules and regs, they said, this is how you win, because they have to, by law, tell you why they denied you. Mm-hmm. After 3-4 years of fighting, I got to my 100% service disabled. And I said, no veteran needs to go through what I just went through, because the first application is 25 pages long and it's in legalese. I mean, it's a horror. I mean, you talk to a Vietnam vet, they're not going to be able to have the patience or knowledge to go through that. Right. When you've been denied, what are the legal things that you got to do to overturn that denial? So we started this company back in 2022 with that mission in mind. And it's really just, hustle, going to folks and helping them understand and educating them on their benefits, why it matters, not only for the veteran, but how it applies to their family. How many spouses I sat on the table and they're like, oh yeah, he snores. And I'm like, okay, yeah, you got sleep apnea, so we started talking. And as this started getting bigger and bigger, we got onboarded a former JAG officer, went through the federal process and became accredited. So with all of that, meaning is now we're fully authorized by the VA to really help and serve veterans the way they need to be.
That is
Let me ask you-
amazing. You know, John, I want to touch on the, you know, because you and I have been there. We'll call it because we're seasoned in the old days. You know, we had those government forms and everything that was, you know, 15, 20, 25 pages. And it really is in 2026, it really is a disservice to make it. And the first thing that comes to mind, not only you said Vietnam vet, but a lot of the folks have TBI. That can't sit in front of a screen and do all this. So all of this is automated. So when we come back, we're going to talk about this disservice and how VetsForever, you, Trinidad, your amazing staff really helps them navigate this because it is needed. So stay tuned, everybody. We'll be right back.
When you choose Patriot Mobile, you're not just picking a wireless provider. You're choosing a company that shares your values. It's easy to switch, and you can keep your number, your phone, and most importantly, your values. With Patriot Mobile, you get the power of nationwide coverage on all 3 major networks. That means wherever life takes you, we've got you covered on the same reliable networks you already know and trust. And when you need us, we're here for you right here at home. Our customer service is 100% US-based because we believe that support should come from people who understand you and your values. At Patriot Mobile, you're not just another call, you're a priority. In today's world, where you spend your money matters more than ever, every dollar is a vote for the kind of future you want to build. Join the thousands of Americans making a difference with every call, every text, and every connection. Choose a company that shares your values. Choose Patriot Mobile.
Hey, right now, when you switch to Patriot Mobile and you use promo code BADGE, you can get a free month of service. That means you get to try Patriot Mobile out. They use the top 3, the big 3, I'll say the towers. So you're not it's not like you're going with some mystery company. So you never lose service no matter where you are. And the best thing, they support veterans and first responders. So make the switch today. Call 972-PATRIOT. Tell them a Badge of Honor sent you. Use promo code BADGE for your free month, or go to patriotmobile.com/badge. You'll land on our landing page, fill out the information, and a wonderful member of Patriot Mobile staff will give you a call. Now back to the show.
Hey, welcome back to a Badge of Honor TV with John and Sam and Trinidad. I don't even want to try the last name because I don't want to butcher it. I'm lucky I got Trinidad down right. Before we broke for that commercial, we were talking about navigating the waters after a transition out of the military. But you said something that I just wanted to focus on. How many times you were denied? 28 out of the 30 times or something like that you were denied. Now, I don't know how true this is, but I know when I was going for my disability, there's a percentage they have to deny. No matter what. I've seen guys going in there with rods in their neck and they go, oh, denied, because they have to do this certain percentage. When they deny you, the reasons behind the denial, are they plausible? Are they factual? Or are they just like denied?
Or is it a paperwork language issue?
Yeah, or is it I mean, because a lot of people get denied and they don't know why.
Yeah, I mean, that's a fantastic question. And you're trying to get the sailor out of me. So on the denial, so I won't. But basically, there's 2 people that it takes to get an approval, right? It takes the doctor they send you to, because the VA outsources like 90% of the exams to, determine service connection. And then there's the person doing the rating, right? Like, okay, the doc said this, how much of a rating do they get, or is it denied? And you're right, John, because of the speed of the VA, you heard about how they're processing via AI and the whole 9 that's going on and looking at claims. They're touting their chest, and that's great. I'm really happy. But about a year and a half ago, it was about 4 or 5 months to process a claim. Now it's down to 71. That's a win for the vet, but 3 out of 5 claims are being denied. And that one rater, that I said takes 2 people, that one rater is processing about 27 claims a day. And so if you spell your name wrong, denied. They do this, denied. So when I read, because we're accredited, I can read the actual doc notes. And the doc will say, yeah, he's got back pain. He can barely move. But then they'll find some obscure little thing like medical literature says this. And then the rater will read it and says denied. Or
Oh,
it
gee,
could
it
be
sounds
all
like the
good.
insurance companies.
Yeah,
Yeah.
They're
I mean,
not doctors.
no. And so any misstep will
Mm.
result in a denial. And I wish I could tell you that there was a rhyme or reason, but I mean, we've helped guys that are terminal and saying this is clearly what they call Blue Water Navy Act, Agent Orange, the whole nine.
Mhm.
The one gentleman I'm thinking of had the deck locks back in the early 70s. And I was shocked. I was like, where did you get this? Showing that he met the requirement and they still denied him. Of course, we're appealing, but that's the point of sometimes it just doesn't make sense. It baffles me.
See, if it wasn't for VetsForever, right, and a lot of other organizations out there that are going to navigate in a DAV to help these veterans, especially our Vietnam and our older veterans who get frustrated very easily. So if they're denied once or twice and they're like, screw it, and hell with it, and they'll just keep moving on. And I think that's what they look forward to, is you just throwing your hands up and forgetting about it, and then they can move on. And thank God for you guys and your organization for really doing what you do for our veterans.
Yeah, two fun facts that's really not communicated very well. One is 20% of all the veterans are service disabled, right, or rated, whether it's 10% or 100%. Only 20% of the 17.5 million vets that are out there today, and of which the VA actually has enough funding to give every veteran 100% payment if they so choose. So it's not for lack of money. It's not for lack of trying. It's just the education component, because a lot of vets, I had one gentleman the other day say to me, I got denied. That means I'm done, correct? Because there's so much misinformation out there. I'm like, no, we only stop when you say stop, because there's always a legal argument. There's always something that the VA more than likely missed that we just have to get in front of the right person. I hate to say it that way, but the right person to pick it up. And that's either a court of law or that rater who's on that front line. But somebody will say yes. So it's never stop fighting for the benefits that they have earned.
So
now, when you say the AI, I just want to say, when you talk about AI, does AI, good and bad, does it scan the paperwork, and is it not even being seen by a real life person, or is it being scanned and tossed before it even gets into the hands of somebody because of a mistake or something?
So right now, what the latest scuttlebutt I hear is that they're reviewing like what they call DBQs, disability benefit questionnaires, or statement support of claims. And there's a lot of bad actors in this space, unfortunately. And so they just rubber stamp a lot. So the AI, from my understanding, is to look for those false claims and then say, okay, we need to look at this population to see if there's any fraud that's been given. So really, that's the primary use case that I've heard for AI today. But they are also, as we submit, making sure that all the information is correct. Again, did you dot your T? Did you cross your I? All that stuff, so that they can more efficiently process the paperwork. Because again, there's a lot of repetition in this process. 25 pages, you can only say your first name, so many times. So they're just trying to standardize the process. So I think it will be ultimately easier to evaluate claims. Again, we went from almost 6 months down to 71, 72 days. So I think there is some gains in efficiencies and good and bad, but it's which and how you submit still matters.
Trinidad, you had mentioned the word accredited a couple of times, and then to get their claims in front of the right person. And then you mentioned the courts. When would you take a claim to court?
Yeah. So only accredited agent or attorney or a VSO, like the DAV, can actually take a claim to court. So when you go to an appeal, there are several different layers, right? You have what they call supplemental appeal, which means we're providing more medical information. We're introducing new evidence. There's a higher level review where we're saying, look, we've got a good package. We think that you made a bad call. We want your boss, your senior rater, to look at this. And then the last one is the Board of Veteran Appeals, where it could say we write a legal brief, or we can introduce new evidence in a court of law and have a veteran law judge take a look and evaluate with all the information at hand. So really, depending on the complexity of that veteran's case, will those 3 steps be appropriate, right? So we have one course case that's gone through where the back is like 1989, 1988, where it's basically goes way decades back. And that would be an example of going to court versus I just got denied a few months ago. I don't need to go to court. I just probably need to introduce new supplemental evidence. And then that would be a faster and more efficient way. So accreditation, only those folks. Unaccredited just means they're just kind of a paper mill factory. They're just giving you the bare basics. They may run it through an AI engine. They may say you need to invest in these other things that they're just throwing paper at the system, hoping something will stick. They don't really have any legal recourse or any real strategy. And you're paying those companies a premium. We're accredited, we're extremely regulated. And that means, because we had to go through background checks, we had to go pass exams, we had to earn that kind of trust with the sensitive information, as we should be privy to. Right. So the legal strategy, the medical strategy, all of that's cared for with a VSO, accredited agent or an attorney. So when we say for any veteran out there, go see whoever you want, make sure they're accredited. And that's a simple question. Are you accredited? Yes or no?
Well, that is really important as you go through the process, for sure. We got to take our next quick break. When we come back, we'll dive in even deeper with Trinidad into, you just had a press release because let's talk about when we come back, when the ratings change and how you can help with that. So we'll be right back, everybody. Stay tuned.
Look, when you need to respond to an aggressive situation to protect yourself, your family, or your property, understanding your firearm and legal position are critical. Officers know your skills are only as good as your commitment to training. So know what you're doing. So when you're in a vulnerable situation, we can count on your response. Whether you're a beginner or a licensed gun carrier, Carry in Texas offers basic firearms training, Texas permitless carry courses, license to carry, and basic 2A courses so you can understand the responsibilities, situational awareness, and learn the technical skill required when you carry your firearm. Go to carryintexas.com to find the right course for you. Join me, former United States Secret Service agent Samantha Horwitz, on the range for beginner basics, LTC prep, and range practice. Go to carryintexas.com today. That's carryintexas.com.
Hey, welcome back to A Badge of Honor TV with John and Sam, with our buddy from VetsForever, Trinidad. Before we took our last break, we were talking about navigation of the paperwork and the cluster. I'm actually going to use that word because I'm not a veteran. So it's the cluster of paperwork that you have to file. But we're going to talk about the rating system. Now, I have a buddy at work. He's a young kid. He's a veteran. He hurt his back. The kid can't even sit at the desk for more than about, 30 minutes without getting up, stretching, and doing something because his back starts to freeze up. And I remember him telling me that he's got, I think, it was stupid. I'm like, he got like a 10% rating or whatever it was. And then he said, well, I'm going back to the doctor and hopefully they'll move me up to like a 20% rating. Right. Why these increments for the same injury go up in like, it's like little petty things? Why can't they just rate them out and say, you're disabled, here's your package, thank you for your service, let's get you what you need?
Yeah, I mean, the VA rating system is extraordinarily complicated, right? Some of it makes sense, some of it doesn't. Like when we talk about mental health, that could be as high as 50, 70, 100%. And it's justified just depending on the level of severity when it comes to mental health. But when it comes to your physical, ailments, like I feel for that kid because I have a bad back, and that's exactly right. So it really limits based on that is range of motion. Like, how does it impact your everyday life? So, for example, can I bend down and just simply tie my shoe, or is it so painful I need to bring up my leg and tie it? And at best, that's maybe a 30%. When you start talking about some of these others, it's like, well, if you want to get 50%, you've got to have surgery, and then higher like spinal fusion. I mean, it's ridiculous, but and to be fair, is one of the things they're talking about revising is sleep apnea. And sleep apnea, as we know, like it's mostly a secondary condition of mental health, and that's a 50% rating. So is there some room to, judge and reduce that? I think so, because having a bad night of sleep, it's respiratory. You stop breathing like 20 times a minute, like me. I get it. That's bad. But is it as bad as physically unable to move? And so I think that there is going to be an adjustment to certain VA ratings that's already talking about tinnitus, hearing loss, mental health, sleep apnea, and some others, and reducing them, but also reducing the requirements on getting a higher rating. So it just depends on less about, how much are you impacted and more about your quality of life. Because
as this young kid, right, he's got a bad back, right, but he's still got to work, right? So as he grows older, right, that back is not going to get any better. It's probably going to get worse because he's doing more damage from the injury he sustained protecting this country.
Yep.
It's going to get worse over time. And by the time he hits, 50s or 60s, he may be in a wheelchair and too frustrated to go for surgery for fusion or stuff. That's where they don't understand. Yes, the injury may be minor now, but it's a forever injury.
So you can always ask for an increase, okay, for that back. But a pro tip I always give out is not just about the back. Like, let's say it's my sciatica and that's at 10, 20%. But then there's other secondary conditions that most folks don't know about. Like if you get an X-ray or an MRI, it's like, well, does he have degenerative disc disease? Or does he have radiculopathy, which is like your numbness of your legs and you feel these electrical currents? Or do you have other conditions because you have a bad back? Do you walk funny and now you're over emphasizing your knees, your hips? So there's 850 things a veteran can claim, and it doesn't have to be a primary. It could be a secondary condition. And when you put it as a secondary, the onus of proving service connection actually lessens. So I always equate it to, if this is true, then this is true. So if my back hurts and it's service connected, then that's the reason why I probably have degenerative disc disease. And so I don't have to prove service connection. They'll connect it to my back. So secondary conditions is not talked about enough in terms of veterans getting to ultimately the rating they deserve. So in this young man's case, it may be 10% just for his back, but he could be 70, 80% based on all the other secondary conditions that are associated with his back.
Like he just went for surgery last month and he's back to work already. So I'm going to have him connect with you. Yeah.
Please do, because that's where I would probably say with that surgery, because I know I'm doing myself, and that's kind of where it's like, you've got degenerative disc disease, you've got sciatica. I mean, there's a whole host of things. I make base camp around back pain. That's my forte. Just unfortunately, my wife says, I'm tired of you walking around like an 80-year-old man, and I'm only 50. So I'm like, I heard, I can definitely empathize with them. So it doesn't get better, unfortunately.
Right.
How many times can a veteran come back to you and say, hey, we started this process. I've got, a 30% rating, and now I've got this, and this. How many times can they come back to you in a calendar year, or is there a certain time frame to change the rating?
They can come as often as they want. So, for example, we generate enough evidence where we understand the VA process extraordinarily well. So a lot of guys and gals will come to me, like actually I had a young man come to me last night, and he was at 0 and he just was frustrated. And I said, and he tried back in 2015, like 5 or 6 times. I'm like, come on back. We'll get you we can go from 0 to X. And from there, we'll just keep building until you tell me to stop. Because how it works for us is about an intake process. It's like, what hurts? It's a conversation, like this guy was 11 Bravo in the Army, right? He was a Bradley Humvee driver. It's like, those things don't drive like Cadillacs. I bet your back hurts, right? He's like,
plus with the armor, body armor that they wore. And the slamming.
Yeah, and it's like when you fired that 50 cal, I bet you, all that sound percussion. So there's probably a little bit of TBI in there, because the micro concussions that you're feeling from the impact of that probably messes and with your brain. And goes, yes, because when you have someone with TBI, you kind of see their brain reset a little bit, right? And fortunately, they stop, they pause, and then they go back again, or they complain of migraines or headaches, or they complain of a variety of other host of issues for TBI. So it's a conversation. We're able to extract a lot of good information from a simple conversation, because unfortunately we hear the same story regardless of which branch you're in a few hundred times, and we know what to ask and what we can prove. And then it's like, okay, do you have medical evidence? We can service connect it based on your MOS or rate, and then we can go out and we'll go to war for you. And that's what being accredited is about. It's like, yeah, we understand the law. We understand what we can advocate for. There is no limit. There's no expiration on when a veteran can apply. It's really, this is a marathon, not a sprint.
Yeah, it sounds like a marathon. We got to take our next break, and I want to break into our friends at East Texas Legends Coffee, because we talk about Ben and Amanda Holmes every week, right? And Ben and Amanda, they understand this whole, or they should understand this whole thing, from Ben needing to get well after his veteran service, as well as being a police officer. And, the whole TBI, PTS, it can feel like a revolving door, but when symptoms really get worse, sometimes you don't want to talk about it. So you can find some healing by doing different programs. So Ben was in the Marines, and he does part-time law enforcement. He's overcome PTS through an outside program and has now found purpose in ranching. Relocating to an East Texas ranch, Ben and Amanda identified a need for a local coffee brand, and now they're opening their first coffee shop in Lindale, Texas, rooted in faith, family, and community. Their mission: inspire purposeful conversations over coffee. Drink coffee, be legendary. Go to etxlegendscoffee.com and use promo code BADGE for 15% off coffee and merch. That's promo code BADGE for 15% off coffee and merch. John and I, we have our coffee every week. And, it's been warm, so we got the little ice coffee going on here, and it's kept it cold all day, and it works in the reverse too. So you put hot and it stays hot all day. So again, visit Ben and Amanda at etxlegendscoffee.com. Use promo code BADGE for 15% off. Back to the show.
Hey, well, welcome back to A Badge of Honor TV with John and Sam and Trinidad with VetsForever and the DAV. We're talking about navigating the waters. We're talking about the physical aspects of injuries that our veterans sustain and the ratings. How does that correlate? We were talking about, all right, we have a back injury, and that could, as we get older, now it's going to hit my sciatica, and then it's going to hit my knees, and then it's going to hit my, and it's going to progressively get worse. Let's flip the script for a second, and let's look at the mental injuries that our veterans sustain. Now, you said, when we're talking about ratings, you were like, well, if they got post-traumatic stress, they can get an 80% rating. Well, does that require them? And please don't take this out of context. But what, he has to walk in the office with a gun to his head, or he's had to commit, attempted to commit suicide. What makes that, the mental health injury? How do you rate that? Because everybody's a little different with the way they process things in their own mind. It's individual.
The good and the bad of the VA is they clump all your medical history, all your mental health into one bucket. So you can only get rated by one thing: PTSD, combat or non-combat, general anxiety and depression, MST, military sexual trauma, insomnia. So all these are mixed into one big bucket. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, but what they do and how we do our process is, listen, again, conversation. because we're not therapists, so we have to tread lightly here. And I don't want to do any triggers or set off any stressors for the respective veteran. But it's, one, it's where you serve, what you do. And really, you'd be surprised. It really doesn't matter, because everybody is very unique. It's not a cookie cutter thing, whether you're in OIF or OEF and Operation Iraqi Freedom or Enduring Freedom, or, if you're a Vietnam vet. I've seen it. I had a Navy SEAL who you think, oh yeah, this guy's PTSD all day, and they rated from anxiety and depression, right? Doesn't matter. The rating's the rating. And what they do is it goes back to quality of life. Like, as an example, what happened in service that caused this one, that caused you to have PTSD or anxiety or whatever the case. And so you have to describe your situation. Like, I experienced this one traumatic event or multiple traumatic events. There's no bonus points for more than one. One or more, it's great. And then it goes down to other more sensitive things, like, have you had suicide ideation, passive or active? And that's really the kicker. That's really the thing. Others is, and this is true for me, it's like, do you turn on the GPS every time you drive? Like, yeah, because even though I'm going 5 minutes to the Kroger, it's like, yeah, I still put that thing on because I'll just go into my la la land world. I'm like, oh yeah, I got to turn here, even though it's just 5 minutes down the road. So little things like that. But that's the stuff that we help our veterans communicate to the rater and say, or the examiner, and say, listen, these are the must-haves. These are, because it breaks down in 3 sections: what you do before the service, what you do during service, and what you do, and how does your life look like after service. And the key is, no one cares about what happened before service. Like, it's like whatever happened, it's like, I had a good life. Tell your truth, absolutely, but that's not reason why you have PTSD if your girlfriend broke up with you or you got in a car accident or whatever. What happened in service is the only thing that should be talked about, because that's what we're here and talk about today in this evaluation. And that's how I train my vets. And then it's like, how do you, how's your quality of life impacted? Are you quick to anger? You got to put your back to the wall and face the door when you're at a restaurant. Are you always taking the outside and your spouse is on the inside when you're walking down the street? Little things like that, and talk about it. And those are the key words or key criteria the evaluator is looking for. And is it consistent? Because if it is, then they're just checking the box and it's making their life easier. If you have a medical diagnosis from a psychiatrist or whoever you go to, we partner with a lot of there are free resources out there. I tell every veteran, there's so many free resources for if you need mental health help, please go seek those out. And I'd be happy to share those informations in a resource, but go seek help, get diagnosed, bring that into the doc at the evaluation. That only helps your case. So yeah, to your point, John, you don't need to bring in a gun in the head. It's just like, but it's do the work and tell your story. Your story, if you tell the truth, it's going to come out and you're going to be rated. So
yeah, and you guys just did a press release related specifically to mental health and how the ratings, they have recently changed with this administration, and how you are, you're helping, you're trying to get the word out to anybody that was rated prior to kind of let's go through a review process.
Yeah, in fact, we have 2 press releases, one on the recent change of the VA, talking about these rating increases and really putting the cap on those that have already been rated. Calm down, and unless you go in the hospital and say, hallelujah, I'm cured, you're more than likely not going to be impacted. But if you hadn't been rated, then we encourage them to go and see us or go see an accredited individual, so to start that process to be rated, so then they can lock in their service connection. Another white paper we just wrote was about, comparing that transition component, because, just like if you served, that toughest part of your life is that first year after you got out of service, because I equate it to Maslow's law, right? Where when you talk about getting out, day one, you've lost your uniform, you lost your, brothers and sisters, you've lost your financial security, your health care, you lost everything, right? It's your civilian now, and it's like no one cares. And so when you look at it for financial security, and we talk about it from mental health and suicide prevention, it's like, hey, Maslow's law comes in because you need food, shelter, and water. But if you're transitioning and you get your VA rating, then you have some of that financial security. You have the healthcare and help that you need day one after you get out. And that's one of the known stressors. If you have that financial security in there, then the angst of doing or harming yourself dramatically lessens. And then as you go up, then, you start building, more, you're more instilled in yourself. So you may go out to college. You may go out and, build a better life with your family. You may have coping mechanisms on how to deal with those stressors from PTSD, the quick to anger, and how do I need to help myself navigate through that storm. I'll say it like that. So,
now,
again, that's the white paper.
When we talk about financial, and I just want to reiterate to all the people that are listening right now, your services, Trinidad, are absolutely free, correct? Or am I saying that wrong?
Well, so the VSO, so if you go to the DAV, the American Legion, VFWs, Wounded Warrior, all of those services are absolutely free. For us as accredited agents or attorneys, we're regulated by the VA. We do charge a service fee, and our fee is regulated at 33% of the veteran's back pay. So what does that mean? So if it's $1,000, our fee is $333. Right. There you go. It's not a lot of money for a lifetime of benefits. It's tax-free for the rest of your life.
But that's once the claim has been approved and done. Just like regular disability, just like regular Social Security disability, you know what? Once that claim is finished, that retro money, they take a percentage, and that's it. It's a one-time thing. But there's no cost for consultation. There's no cost to get the paperwork going. It's once it's approved. So it is a great benefit to come talk to you.
100%. There's no hidden fees. There's no upfront charge. If you get denied, we charge $0. If you even win, but your overall rating doesn't move up. So if you're at a 90 and we stay at a 90, we don't charge. We only charge if you see from like a 90 to 100 or 70 to 80, whatever the case may be, and the VA generates a back pay, only then do we charge.
Got it. We got to take that makes sense. Yeah. We got to take our last quick break, and we will be right back. Stay tuned, everybody.
Interested in starting a podcast or TV show? Worried about what you'll say and how to keep it engaging? Think you'd like to be a guest on podcast, radio, or TV shows? Hi, I'm Susan Hamilton, owner and founder of OBBM Network, and I would like to invite you to an OBBM media training to get the tools you need for a relaxed and polished performance you'll be proud to share. Our specialized training techniques include role play, voice training, and everything you need to deliver a confident, clear, and engaging interaction. Go to offbeatbusiness.com. Go to the calendar and register for a training that's convenient for you. Dates available now, 214-714-0495.
Hey, welcome back to A Badge of Honor TV with John and Sam on this Mental Health Monday with Trinidad, with Vets Forever. And, we've covered a lot in this short period of time, and I'm sure we've missed so much. That's why if you're a veteran out there and you are battling physically, mentally, or just need some advice, you're going to have to reach out to Vets Forever, because there's a lot of things during your transition out of the military that you probably failed to give or get, So there's a lot of benefits out there that are probably owed to you that you do not know about, or your family's owed and you do not know about. And Trinidad is the man to educate you and show you what resources are out there to help you get those things that you are owed and due.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Thank you. Yeah. There's so much. Especially at 100%, the benefits out there are just incredible. I know when we served, we're always looking for, all that extra hazard duty pay, uniform allowance pay. There was so much. But suddenly when we become veterans, we're like, nope, we're good. It doesn't make any sense. I'm like, these are benefits that are owed to you. And, when you look at it, you're absolutely entitled to every penny of it. So the toughest part is allowing yourself to be vulnerable enough to talk about it. And that's the hardest part of the entire, of the whole gig. So if you can be,
what are some of the benefits that you see always pop up that a veteran goes, oh, I didn't know I was qualified federal, or I didn't know that they were going to give me. What is like some of the top 3 benefits that are just lost in transition space?
Well, outside of being tax-free income, which means you don't have to report on your income taxes, it's free health care for life. If you're not retired and don't have TRICARE, your family, doesn't matter, your kids and your wife can get CHAMP VA, which is health care for them. So they can be covered under that health care plan. You also, if you have any federal student loans, we had a lady, she had over $120,000 in federal loans forgiven once you hit 100%, gone. You also have, if you have kids that are about to go to college, I know that's my son going to university next year, and he gets Chapter 35 benefits. So that's an additional stipend of $1,400, $1,500 a month that he'll receive to help pay for school and housing. So those are some very powerful, if you got kids, if you're married, if you got healthcare issues, all of this is enclosed once you hit a certain percentages. And then here in Texas, property taxes are nullified. So you don't have to pay property taxes. There's certain states like Florida and others that will be in that same category. So, state laws will come into play based on your percentage rating.
Okay.
Wow.
So put your website up, VetsForever.com. Where else can people find you on social media?
Absolutely. We are on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok. You can go in and there's always a call to action button in all of our posts and or ads, and you can find us there. You just click on the button. You can pick a day and a time to talk to any of my team members, and we'll be happy to serve you. Again, it's just 30 to 45 minutes of your time, and then we do all the work after that.
That is fantastic. Again, for all of you listening on your favorite podcast app, it is Vets, VETS, forever.com. Thank you so much. You offer an invaluable service. I mean, every guy in my family served. I remember them talking about, VA, but things kind of have gotten better over the years. But don't sell yourself short. And don't sell what's going on with you, whether it's here or physical, in terms of joint issues, because this is physical as well, but joint issues, back, et cetera, like what John was talking about. Seek out Trinidad, VetsForever.com, and get in there, talk to them, because we as a country owe you this. It's a debt of gratitude, and you deserve it all to take care of you for the rest of your life as well as your family. So thank you.
Before we leave Trinidad, the vet clinics, those veteran clinics, and just say for here in the state of Texas, is there a list on where they are? Could they go to your website? Is there a list of veteran clinics that?
The best place to go is on va.gov. I'll be happy if anybody goes on and asks. My team will provide that. But if you go to va.gov and look at the locations, they're going to tell you every location out there. From a VA clinic here in Dallas, there's like at least 10 I could think off the top of my head. There's 3 major hospitals. In addition to that, veterans can also opt out if they're in a rural community for community care. And that's going to be talked about more in the upcoming months from the VA. So I would highly encourage for them to call, the 1-800 number, 1-800-827-1000, and they can say, hey, where can I go to the nearest clinic, or how do I enroll in community care? And then you can go to a doctor of your choice in your rural community, or even your local community if you're in a big metro like Dallas. So there's many options of healthcare needs that the VA will take care of you for.
That's great. That is super important. Again, VetsForever.com. Trinidad, thank you so much for coming on tonight and explaining this system that can sometimes look like you're climbing a mountain.
Yeah.
You broke it down into bite-sized chunks. So please, if you're a veteran, you're listening tonight, or somebody sends you the replay, you catch it tomorrow, VetsForever.com. Let Trinidad and his folks be your best friend for a little while. So thank you so much, and we'll definitely be in touch.
Sam, John, thank you all again for having me on. This was a great conversation. I appreciate all you.
Thank you. We appreciate you.
You bet. Take care. Thank you.
Take care.
Right.
It's the hardest thing for our veterans today, and especially the older veterans, man. Services like VetsForever are there for you guys out there. I know the internet and computers and getting on the phone and doing all this stuff could be a frustrating aspect. Contact Trinidad. He'll walk you through the steps, and his team will help you.
Yeah, 100%. Yes, please let them help you. 25 pages, ridiculous.
I know.
Oh my gosh, absolutely. Like I said, I remember having to fill all that stuff out when getting into the feds and stuff, and it is a mountain. So let them help you. 'Tis the season. We're almost into April, and we'll soon enough be onto Memorial May. And we want to thank Carry the Load. We have been named nonprofit partners again this year. And what that means is you have an opportunity to make a difference in the lives of our first responders out there. It's super easy. Go to abadgeofhonor.org. There's a pop-up. Hit find out more, and you will land on our page inside the Carry the Load portal, which explains exactly our role, what we're doing, and every bit of money that we raise, it's going to go through to Carry the Load, and then they redistribute it through the Continuum of Care program. Just like Trinidad talked about, we've got to care for our personnel. We have to, as communities out there, need to realize that the law enforcement and first responders are not robots. They have families, they have kids that they have to support. And when they come up and with mental health issues, some of them that are veterans, they have people like Trinidad to help them navigate that. A lot of them don't. So through programs and other nonprofit partners that we happen to be partner with, we can get them that help. We go into the departments, put on an 8-hour workshop and other programs related to mental wellness. So a badgeofhonor.org, the pop-up, go ahead. If you can't be with us on Memorial May, just make a donation. Every little bit counts. And again, it goes directly to Carry the Load in their important work. We also have our partners at Responders Retreat. They have a retreat coming up in 3 Lakes, Wisconsin. Our friends Liz and Joe Bartholomew, September 28th through October 2nd. And you can register at firstrespondersretreat.org. It sold out very quickly last year. So beautiful setting in the woods. You want to take advantage of this. Give yourself a break. Kind of let the steam off, and get to firstrespondersretreat.org, and you can register there. John, we have been inside working with the departments round the clock. There's always work to be done. So if you need us, again, a badgeofhonor.org is the way to get us. Know that you have prayer warriors for all the first responders that are praying for your safe return every single night. Thank you for keeping our communities safe. For all of the veterans out there, thank you for fighting the good fight that allows us to do a show like this every single week. And for our active duty personnel spread out across the globe, thank you for protecting our shores here at home. John, take us home.
Just keep up the good fight. To all our law enforcement officers out there that are battling right now, trying to make a decision on should I stay or should I go. You have to do what's right by you, what's right by your family, but look at the big picture. Especially in New York, you got another 4 years of who knows what's going to happen. Do you really want to put yourself through that? You want to live your life the best you can, and reach out to us if you need us. Peace.
Till next week, everybody. Take care.
A Badge of Honor podcast is produced for the OBBM Network podcast and protected under copyright law. For content permissions, please submit your request to abadgeofhonor.com on the content page. For OBBM Network programming information, please call 214-714-0495 today.